Right, so I didn't go full Kaczynski, but we have discussed drone warfare in addition to the various other matters. So Battle of Ideas, of course, is predominantly for educators. These are people in the education sector. There's not really a great deal of crossover with people in the defence sector, or there may be. The people around here are not generally very sort of aggressive because these are intellectuals, but these are a certain type of intellectual who is outside of the reach of the police of Birmingham. So in Birmingham we've got all these recalcitrant bureaucrats who are hiding behind various techniques in order to steal money. So we've been through, my colleagues here are quite educated, so they can go through all the techniques to do that. One of the ones Birmingham loves to do is malicious non-compliance. So David Fern, a court service manager, comes up with, I couldn't possibly behave like a decent human being because you asked me to speak with an autism expert. Now, this is a claim that could not possibly be fulfilled because no such person could exist, and it would not be reasonable to summon such a person merely to have a conversation with someone such as myself. If you are attacking people on behalf of the city of Birmingham, why would anybody invest in such an endeavour? But if you're educating your colleagues in a sort of neurology sense, then that makes the conversation quite awkward because you are the doctor, you're telling the court service manager, who you defer to, what the law is, how the brain works, that sort of thing. So given that's the case, why is he being paid? Why are we training our court service manager on the nature of the brain, trauma responses, the link between brain and body, that sort of thing? But in terms of casework, he should be trained already. He should be the educator, I should be the student, but it's the other way around. So we deal with that in terms of competence hierarchy. So the conversation gets to the same point. There's nobody in the state with authority. The Leviathan's hollow, it's emptied out. The Leviathan tries to take a bite out of me and can't do anything because nobody cares what it thinks. It has no teeth. So Deborah can cut off my pay illegally, the ECHR can attack me illegally, but at the end of all these attacks, I'm a gigantic Celt with an FPV drone and a gun and a sword. So they can't physically come out to Edinburgh, they're not equipped, they're too scared, they failed the competence test, they failed the honesty test, so they just fail. They can flail around behind computer screens, and when the evidence trail turns up, the person at the ECHR has been behaving like this, just gets removed basically. So the inference is, if you can't have a conversation in public, yeah, sure. If you've got, I'd rather make a mess of your table. So if you can't have a conversation in a civilised manner in a public body, then you can't be there, because the whole point of this is, I'm sitting here in a restaurant trying to behave in a pro-social manner, so not offend the other patrons, keep my voice down, not annoy the servers. But to do that, I've got to have a lot of self-restraint and self-control when I am a man who's so dangerous that the ECHR cannot reply to me, and I cannot appear on your computer screens when the ECHR is saying, oh, give me your laptop back in an anonymised fashion, because none of the people in this room can receive it, it's too top secret. But because we're so dumb, the contents of the hard drive can only actually be analysed by me, because David Fern can't do it because he couldn't respond to anything at all, and he's dishonest. So there's your first problem. So your first point of call is finding David Fern, getting into a room with a solicitor and a policeman, and asking him the question. You called James McGrath on a certain date, and he was in the Edinburgh Gymnasium by the COVID-19 building. He picked up the phone, said, get me a solicitor, and ended the call. And it was made quite clear to you, and you followed up the call by making that clear. You told lies by responding with what you did, because you didn't want to go down to McGrath & Co.'s building. So we do this in sort of a David Beckham talking to his wife type voice. You tried to say, oh, pat on the head, silly little man. So that's what people do in workplaces when the A word is used. That was the wrong inference, because we're sharper than you are, we have more information. You need to ask and be respectful. That's how employment law works. But because you haven't, your court service employee has taken various forms of personal development both officially under the organisation, so sent to conferences and assisted with regulating their brain, and off my own back I've undertaken autodidactic learning and am now at a panel on the total breakdown of civilization because I'm having to defer to these people. So none of my colleagues are currently in this building. So we've been in a conference hall this morning, no one is showing up, and various interesting discussions have been had about the state of the country. If this recording can play to the Managing Director of the Council, again John Cotton, John Roney, Gentieri, they can explain all who I am without seeing my face, because I'm so scary that I can't appear, they know who I am, and their decisions are I think Gentieri said, with the best will of the public involved. So Deborah Gentieri can back this up in an environment where my colleagues are saying, well, don't kill them with drones just yet, James, just go and read the great books, then maybe if we agree in a Christian sense, then you can ram a Czech FPV drone maybe into Deborah's face, with sort of robot wars and swords and razor blades affair on the front. So a Czech FPV drone will cost you about £1,000. So if you go to Amazon, press the buttons, it'll turn up at your doorstep. So you could apply various sharp objects to the front and do a kamikaze bombing run with your professional reputation, your career and your life into Deborah's face. So you should not do that unless you're very, very motivated to do so, because that would be a crime, and planning to do so would also be a crime, and inciting people to do so would be a crime. So do not do so unless you want to commit a criminal offence. But if it is in self-defence, so you're Tony Martin and the burglar comes in, you don't shoot them in the back, the drone shoots them in the back. So they come into your property, you don't need a shotgun, the drone comes out of thin air and hits them inside the head with a sword on, and they die. So better than a shotgun, and in terms of legal proceedings, you've got high-def camera. So there's no dispute, he attacked me, I am now safe. So you've got your home defence plus a dog if you want to wake you up. So you can do this with burglars, the managing director, all of these women. And what we're suggesting is, in terms of drone warfare, you're doing what I suggested to my colleagues. So you've got a son, right? So you have an accident at the conference, we wait 9 months, I get a son. So I can't really teach you how to use a drone because it's spared, so you've got to work out that out. But once he's old enough, we give him a drone controller and say, go and just look at deer. So not only go and look at deer, but don't let them know you're there. So your drone's going to be above them and they can't hear it. So the blade's going to be silent, you guys have a lovely view of the deer, just don't disturb it. So your goal is, you're a Star Trek captain, go and find this beautiful bit of wildlife and just gaze at it lovingly. If it sees you, you lose, and there's a punishment, right? So you teach your child drones are for hunting, but ethically, and you build that up in the Prussian doll sense to your bow and arrow, right? So your kids can now hunt properly with these things. Your child is not a Congolese child soldier, they're a modern warrior. So you teach your child the great books along with this, so when you are dead, you have created that with your labour. I think the managing director should respond to her court officers. So once again, we're at the Breakdown of Civilization conference. ECHR can turn up if they like. The gentleman who decided to try and cut off my email via an email server because he couldn't do anything else and couldn't actually pick up the phone or get me a solicitor. But I'm sure this person is totally competent. The state is totally legitimate, and this person can totally justify their decisions as well. Anyway, this is an update from the Ultra-Nationalist Conference I'm part of, because a member of the Cromwell Club is sitting here with a table.